welcome back to the Living the Gimmick podcast, where the takes are hot, the debates are real, and just like the best in the business, we never break kayfabe.
I give you 2 claps and a Ric Flair.
What's up, everybody? It's your girl, Tay.
It's your neighborhood Uncle Trap.
It's Teddy Royce.
And this is the Living the Gimmick podcast. Welcome. Happy Wrestlemania weekend to all who celebrate.
Yes. Been celebrating all week.
All week long. We have an action-packed, debate-filled episode, and we have a special guest with us here today. Travis, why don't you tell us how you met him and introduce who we have?
All right. So it started on a very early Friday morning in April last year. First week of April, matter of fact. And I'm flying from here in San Antonio, and I got a connector in Atlanta. And I'm like, you know what? I cannot wait to get on this plane so I can get some sleep, because I know as soon as I hit Philly, there's no sleep that's going to be had. So as we're in line, you know, our tickets are being called, our group's being called, and I strike up a conversation. I don't even know how to. I'm sure it started off as, "You going to Mania, aren't you?" I'm sure that's how it started off. So, because I felt like everybody on that flight, that's where they were going.
Right.
Like everybody's going to Mania. So he was like, yeah. So we struck up a conversation, and come to find out, we had mutual friends, or a mutual friend, and he goes, "I know George." I was like, "Yeah, that's my 6th grade principal." Like that. So, and I just wanted to give everybody this introduction, because ever since then, and mind you, we exchanged information, but I have been trying to find him for a while. I was like, man, I wonder how Chris is doing. I wonder how he's doing. And then one day, I think he messaged me, and he was like, "Hey, is this Travis?" I'm like, "Bro, I've been looking for you." I'm like, yo, because I've been all, in my IG friends. I'm like, looking at my notes. I'm like, I know I got his contact. I want to see how he's doing. And he reached out. I was like, man, thank God. And I'm like, man, that's how I knew it was like this. The relationship was meant to be passed, past that weekend. So everybody, please, LTG audience, Chris Horrell. He is an amazing photographer. He has been in the business for a little bit now, and I just want everybody to, really get to know him as I've gotten to know him, and just to see what an amazing person and what an amazing talent that he is. So, man, Chris, welcome to the show, brother.
Yes, sir.
Man, I appreciate it. And I guess to add to a point to how I reached out to you, I think it was just like a random day where I was like, man, I know I have Travis's contact somewhere in my phone, and I didn't remember like where it was, and I was like, I'm almost positive I wrote down your Instagram handle in a note on my phone, and that's where I ended up finding it. And I was just like, I think this is it. It was either that, or it was the guy that was also sitting in our row. And I was kind of just, I mean, no disrespect to the guy sitting in our row, but I was like, I looked at the handle, I was like, I hope this is Travis, and and that was basically it. And I typed it in, and then lo and behold, you popped up, and I messaged you, and here we are. Yeah. So, but man, it's been real cool, even see like your progression, over the past year that we've known each other. Just to kind of see like how the pod is taking off, and personally, I'm a bit invested in your jiu-jitsu training. So like, I always think that's pretty rad too. So yeah, man. So I'm really honored to be, on this pod, especially during such a big week, for us in the world of wrestling. This is as big as it gets.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's a fact. And Chris, you're in Vegas right now, right?
Yes, yeah. I'm in Las Vegas. I'm in my hometown. I spent most of my life here. I'm actually at my parents' house right now, and I currently live in Orlando, but this is always going to be home. So it's a pretty surreal thing knowing that WrestleMania is tomorrow, 20 minutes down the road from where I grew up, and where Allegiant Stadium is now was a parking lot that I used to just hang out at, and so that's pretty surreal too. That's something that I couldn't have looked back on and been like, oh yeah, one day in this spot, there's going to be WrestleMania. Like that wasn't even on the radar. So so it's a really really cool thing, and I'm very very excited for this weekend.
Yeah, for sure. And that's what we were kind of talking about before, is that's the beauty of wrestling, right? The storytelling coming full circle. And I love that even for the fans or the people in the industry who aren't the talent or the wrestlers, we all have those stories. We all have those special moments for us. And I think fandom in other genres or in other areas, you don't really get that.
No, you don't.
Not to this extent to where it's like, wow, this is like a full circle moment for me type of thing. And that's just the beauty of it all, and how it brings people from all different walks of life together. And I just love it. Absolutely. I love it. It's like nothing else in the world.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
No.
I mean, everything. What's the slogan? Everything is pro wrestling. Right?
Literally
everything,
and it literally goes into so many different streams of just life in general. And so I mean, those full circle moments, we see it displayed on TV, right? And so, but there are those very real full circle moments that like you had, all of us in some way, shape, or form get to live, and it's really through this channel, right? Like this avenue of professional wrestling that's like oddly very beautiful once you understand like what's in it.
People don't understand. They're like, what are you watching? What are you, man, you don't even know.
That's don't what I always tell people. They be like, it's fake, but your favorite movie is fake. You know what I'm saying? The TV show that you binge watch, they're made up characters with a storyline, and it plays out. I'd argue to say pro wrestling is more authentic than your favorite movie, your favorite TV show.
Yeah, they don't do stunt double or second takes.
Yeah, like while you on reality TV, you see all these names. I can go to the event and shake hands with these people. Like it's more authentic and more real to life than the stuff you watch on TV.
Yes. And why is so much more special than anything that that's going on is because with football and basketball, right? 9 times out of 10, maybe give or take, where you grew up has a sports team, right?
Yeah.
So it eventually, at some point in your life, you may end up at the arena to watch the game or at the stadium to watch the game. With professional wrestling, I'll just say professional wrestling like altogether, it is not guaranteed that company or show is going to make your city.
Yeah.
It's not guaranteed. And even if it is, it's not.
You might not make the show.
You might not even make the show. And who knows when it's going to come back around. You know what I'm saying? So like when it happens, the last WrestleMania that was in Nevada was WrestleMania 9.
Yeah. I wasn't even born yet.
Yeah. So it's like, so the people that were around that couldn't make it, that were kids then, or even some adults that are still around, they're like, man, like I don't know when Mania is ever going to come back here. But then fast forward however many years later, it's in Vegas this year, and they have an opportunity to do it all over again. Something that they weren't able to capitalize on in their younger adult years or just in their child.
That's kind of interesting that you brought that up. That people, it might not make your town. Like I've been blessed to live in markets where, particularly WWE ran through New York, Florida, now in Texas.
Right.
But I have a friend who lived in Maryland, and they'd probably only get a show once or twice a year.
Yeah.
And if it did, it was in Baltimore. He lived like an hour from Baltimore. So he didn't see a live wrestling show, period, until we were like 20. And by that time, I've been to countless Raws, 2 Manias, a Royal Rumble, and all that stuff. So that's interesting that you brought that up, that there are lifelong wrestling fans to this day who have never seen it in person just because it doesn't come to their market.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, guys, it's WrestleMania weekend.
Absolutely.
It's a lot going on. We have a lot to cover.
Mm-hmm.
So I think we just need to get into it.
Absolutely. Yes.
Let's just get into it. Let's see. I'm not even gonna, I don't have to even introduce this. It's WrestleMania. If you don't know what's going on, I don't know what to tell you. Just watch it. But here we go. We're just gonna get into it. All right. It's WrestleMania weekend, y'all. Let's talk about first the main event of night one. Roman Reigns, CM Punk, Seth freaking Rollins, and Paul Heyman is going to be in CM Punk's corner. Monday on Raw, there was a lot to digest with that storyline. There was a lot to digest. Who's going first? Where do we want to start with this? What do y'all think is going to happen?
Wow. Chris, I'll let you take this.
Yeah, Chris, you're the guest.
Yeah, because I'm sure.
All right, yeah.
Like six.
You know, no pressure from the wise man. But so I'm pretty invested in this story. You know, just because there's so many moving parts, and when this was first teased over, even I think during the Royal Rumble, you know, pre-Rumble, I was thinking to myself, I was like, okay, well, Seth and Punk will have a match at WrestleMania. They'll probably have a one-on-one match. And I was like, I don't really know what Roman does. And it was kind of just like, I didn't know what to think. The second that the three of them interacted at the Rumble, I was like, whoa, okay. First of all, we have the story between Seth and Roman. And then we have the story between Seth and Punk. And we also have a story between Roman and Punk. And I was like, this actually works insanely well.
Yeah.
And there's so many different long-term avenues that you can go off of from here. Like it's not just like a single program that you're like, yeah, maybe like this will start at the Rumble and then die off at SummerSlam or something like that. You know, there's a lot of fuel that is in this. And I think over the weeks, it's really like developed, I think, very nicely. That go home segment on Raw, I thought was amazing.
Yeah.
I'm going to say that as of right now, okay, I don't foresee this changing. But as of right now, I feel like Seth is going to somehow sneak out a win because I feel like Roman and Punk are going to be too preoccupied with this affiliation with Paul Heyman. And Paul Heyman's affiliation in the match is so, like, I don't want to say it's the main focal point, but it kind of is. You know,
it is.
It very much so.
All is the end all be all in this match.
Yeah, this is the key element, right? Is he going to try and make amends and make allegiance back to Roman, or at least, you know, handle that relationship so it doesn't get damaged any more than it already has? Or, you know, does he full on just say screw it and go with Punk?
Yeah.
And I think you'll almost have this tear apart of Paul trying to be this middleman between these two guys. And I think somewhere in there, Seth takes advantage of that distraction and sneaks out that win. You know, a lot of people are saying that Seth is going to become like a Paul Heyman guy. And I just don't foresee that, at least in that story.
Yeah.
But I do think Seth is one deserving of a WrestleMania win right now.
Yes.
You know, particularly after his performance last. Yeah, like last year, super selfless in terms of, you know, what the story needed. The year before he had the Logan Paul match, it was great, but you know, it's one of those that I feel like it will be a trivia question, like later on, where you're like, can you name one of Seth's WrestleMania opponents? And like, I don't think a lot of people are going to think about Logan Paul off the top of the head.
Yeah.
And then you had the year prior, which was Cody Rhodes, and he had that program, and took the fall throughout that program. So I just think it's like it makes sense that it's Seth's time, and I don't think anybody really loses anything by I don't think Punk loses anything by losing this match, and I don't think Roman does either. But I do think if Roman pinned Seth, then there's a loss to Seth's character that I wouldn't say is irreparable, but I don't think Seth needs the loss right here. I think the other guys can gladly take it, and I think it would actually make the story a lot more intriguing. So I'm gonna go with Seth.
Yeah, so two things. One, to piggyback what he said about Seth being a Paul Heyman guy. While I don't think it's gonna happen, it is entirely possible in the sense of Paul likes to jump to who he feels like is carrying the company forward from here. Like he had Brock because Brock was the guy. Then he went to Kurt because Kurt was on top, and then Kurt was the guy. Like that's what he does. And out of the three in this match, Seth is the young boy, and Seth is the one who has more tread on the tires. And Seth is hot right now. Seth is coming out of a season to where he was doing a lot of putting other people over, making titles and stuff. Seth is due for another big time run at the top.
Yes.
Yeah.
And Paul loves that. He jumps on that. So while I don't think it might not happen at Mania, it's entirely possible that he could flip and jump on Seth because Seth is the guy who's going to pick up the mantle for the next 2 or 3 years or whatever like that. I think Roman is I like to pick Roman to come out of this because if Roman wins, whoever he pins, that's a program you can build until next year. Roman and Seth, there's so much to Roman and Seth that you can build that by himself, no title till next year. Roman and Punk. If you do Roman and Punk, okay, now you can interject The Rock into that because Punk and Rock have a history. Punk and Roman had a real thing. And then with Paul Heyman is strictly between Punk and Roman. That's something you can play out and tell that whole story and dig into like Roman said, I didn't ask for the favor. You took that upon yourself. You can play all that out. So I think for me, and y'all know I like to pick like the bigger picture and where we going from here, like what happens next. I think the best and the most immediate answer to that, to what happens next, where we go from here, is to put Roman over somebody. And then whoever he pins or whatever like that, that can be your story to at least carry. You can carry at least to a SummerSlam one. You can carry the whole year with either person. So just in my thought process of where do we go from here, Roman would make more sense to me as the person to pick up the win.
Well, let me say this. I think in that same way, I think Seth with the win, there's more to do with it. I like this Roman Reigns who's chasing.
Right.
Who's the baby face in all of this. I like that. And I think that's a good next place for him to go because, like you said, you can draw that out for another year of his redemption story. This is how he finally gets over, the Shield stuff with Seth. This is when he finally overcomes that and finally is the undisputed tribal chief and all of that stuff. So I think Seth with the win is an even better, or not even better, but another avenue or way for that to open.
I can agree with that. Absolutely. The only reason I didn't take that route is because we've all been saying I think they're building up to Roman and Rock.
Yeah.
So I think if Roman goes over, he can still chase. He can absolutely still chase. But this is like his vindication to where building him up by himself again.
Yeah.
And then so when The Rock does come around, he's not just coming off of chasing for 6 months. You took that to where, in a way to where he chased, yes, but he's still building. He gets these milestone wins and vindication to big him up again so that when Rock does come back, it's not a Roman just just came off of finally got over this hump, and now he has to deal with The Rock. It's okay. Roman is back to being Roman,
Right.
and now he has to deal with The Rock. It's two different tones to that.
Yeah, I like that too. Travis?
Man,
I mean,
Trap, I don't care.
We do it every time.
I call him Travis.
But I answered all of it. Don't even worry about it. But oh man, yeah, Paul is definitely the focal point in all of this.
Yeah.
He definitely is, and so much that like Chris, like you were saying, the story between Roman and Seth, and then Seth and Punk, and then Punk and Roman. Well, if Moxley was around, this could just come back full circle. You know what I'm saying? Because they're all four of these men that are currently present. They're all intertwined
from the beginning.
From the beginning of all of this. And when Seth says, "Now you owe me a favor," from a aesthetics possession, you'd be like, "Well, what does Seth have to do?" Well, you think about it. If Paul probably owes the Shield a lot in favors.
Yeah.
When it regards to CM Punk. Because Punk...
Lifelong debt.
Yeah, it's lifelong debts because they were his henchmen.
Yeah.
When Punk was the champion.
They were taking everybody
They were taking everybody out on behalf of CM Punk, WWE champion at the time.
Mm.
So that makes sense. Now, Teddy, you were so right about Seth, about having more tread on the tires and things like that. Because based on what's been going around and what Roman kind of told Vanity Fair, he's got like another year or two before he's like, yeah, I'm about to moonwalk up out of here type deal.
Yeah.
And
I didn't even think about that.
Yes. And Seth is in tremendous shape. Seth, like, even with whatever back injury that he may or may not have, how serious it may be, he does not look like he's slowing up at all. And there's so much more that can be done with Seth. And we don't know, and we don't know how long Punk has either.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? We don't know how much he can keep. He can keep kind of going.
He ain't got too much longer.
He don't. I honestly don't feel like he does. So I'm with you on Seth coming out on top for those reasons, because it doesn't look like Seth is very invested in whatever Paul is doing. Punk and Roman are the sole ones that are really emotionally tied to this both from a personal standpoint, because we know the history between Punk and Paul, with the higher ups then wanting Paul to fire Punk, and Heyman said, "No, this is not happening. I'm not doing it. He has so much potential, X, Y, and Z." And it's very rare, if at all, that Paul comes out wrong in his assessments. And then, of course, with Paul and the Samoan dynasty, man, that goes back 40 years. You know what I'm saying? Like, that goes back a very long time. So that's where I love about being able to play real life on TV and bringing those real elements to the screen. Because granted, yes, this is business, but there is such a real element to all of this because of those variables.
What do you always say? The best stories are stories that has some kind of real aspect tied to it.
Absolutely.
Those always make the best stories, because then you really blur the lines of, is this just TV stuff or is this their real feelings spilling over? Those always make the best stories.
Speaking of Paul, before we go into the next part, I want you to explain how you came in contact. How did that relationship build?
Yeah, man. I mean, in short, it was an array of just, I think, coincidental connections that I wasn't aware of, right? I'll kind of dive into it here, but WrestleMania 38 was in Dallas, and in March of 2022, I had no intention of being at WrestleMania. I didn't think it was going to happen. Like, it was so far off the radar for me. I wanted to go, but I was just like, yeah, I just don't think it's the right things are lining up. And, ticket prices, I was just, it was whatever. I was okay with it. I'd been given a form for a credential, like a press credential. And a buddy had passed it over to me and was like, hey, you should try and fill this out and see if you can, photograph the show. And I'm an independent photographer, so I was like, I don't have any media affiliation or really anything. And but I knew if I could get my foot in the door, then I could take off with it, right?
Yeah.
And so I reached out to a bunch of just sources all across the Dallas area. I reached out to news stations, newspapers, like the whole nine. And everyone kept telling me no. And I finally, I kind of threw like a Hail Mary. I had a friend from high school, actually, that lived in the Fort Worth area, and I had asked her, and I was like, hey, do you think I can cover this for you guys? And she was like, unfortunately, no, but I would suggest that you reach out to the city of Arlington. And she was like, I know that they're always looking for people to cover their events. And so I had this form in hand. I sent the coldest of cold emails over to the city of Arlington marketing team. And I didn't know it at the time, but it had landed like directly in the vice president of marketing's email.
Wow.
And I didn't know like the email was tied to that person, right? And she emailed me back within like 2 hours, and I think she just wanted to make sure I was like a real person.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And she was like, she emailed me back and she was like, hey, can I have like, your phone number or something, give you a call in like an hour or so? And I was like, yeah, sure, here you go. She's like, do you have like a portfolio online? I said, yeah, here's my website. And she gives me a call, and she was like, that was like the first thing that she said on the phone. She was like, oh, okay, so you are a real person. And I was like, yeah. And she was like, you know what? Normally I would never even open up one of these cold emails. And she goes, I get cold emails all day, but she goes, yours came in at the right time. And, I looked at your portfolio. It's clear that you're very, hungry to do this. So I'm going to give you that opportunity. And I was just like, okay. And I still remember to this day, I was in my apartment at the kitchen counter, and she's on speakerphone, but I am like literally like running laps around my kitchen.
Yeah.
I was just like, I can't believe this, right?
Yeah.
And for me as a photographer, I started doing photography in like 2012, 2013. And I had always felt that like WrestleMania was a big goal of mine.
Yeah.
I did not think at the time that I would accomplish that goal by 27 years old, right? Like it just seemed like maybe that's going to be something that I accomplish at a later point in life. Once I get more established, I'll probably have to do all these things. And she gave me the opportunity, and I showed up in Dallas on very short notice. And I showed up, and I was scared to death on the day of the show, because I was like, what if something falls through, or what if this credential wasn't put in right? And
I would have been a wreck.
Oh man.
yeah, I mean, like you can like I have a picture with one of my longtime friends outside of the stadium, my friend Josh, and I'll talk more about Josh in a little bit, but we have a picture, and I look like cool as a cucumber on the outside, but man, on the inside, I was like,
terrified.
what if my name's not on the list?
Yeah.
Or and even when I got into the building, right? Like I had no idea what to expect or where I was going to be stationed, and they stationed me like directly under hard cam, like
Oh man.
through the crowd,
Perfect.
on the floor, Yeah, and I'd overheard the PR person. I kind of overheard her say something like, "Okay, well, some of these media people, they're only going to be around for the first match or the first two matches." And like even then, I mean, I'm in the building and I'm there, but when I overheard that part, I was like, "No, I'm only going to be here for the first two matches." Like, oh man,
Yeah.
can't get the main event or whatever. And I was just like, I guess I'm just going to make the most of the first two matches because, like at concerts, and festivals, it's always the first three songs, right? Like for photographers in the pit, like in front of the stage, the general rule is you get the first three songs and then you have to, you head out. And, you have to shoot from the crowd for the rest of the show. And so I was like, man, like, is WWE the same way, except for the first three songs, it's the first three matches. And so, yeah, even in that point, I was petrified. And we get to match number 3 on the card. And I'm like sitting there waiting. And I'm
For
like,
somebody to say, all right.
Yeah. Is someone going to come up to me and be like, all right, cool. We gotta move you guys out and bring like another batch of people in. Like, I just didn't know what the ins and outs were.
Yeah.
And no one came up to me. And as the night progressed, I was like, nobody's still coming up to me. I literally kept thinking the next match was going to be the last match that I was.
Yeah.
Right.
And so I was just taking advantage of the moment. And in hindsight, I never had anything to worry about, but those were my worries in real time.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a very long story, but that's how we get to Paul Heyman. I go through WrestleMania 38 weekend, and I'm like really kind of just like working just hard. I was about to say something else, but I don't know where
you say whatever you want.
Whatever you need to say.
Like PG-13.
Okay.
We're the new PG-13.
Hey man,
It was all back in the day.
I edit the show. Say what you want.
Okay. Right on. So yeah, I mean, what I was just gonna say was like those 2 nights of WrestleMania, I was just like busting my ass, like really working hard, and also wanting to get shots that one enhanced my portfolio, but something that I was like, man, WWE has such a specific way that they shoot, and how can I make this look different but still like capture this environment? And so that was my mindset that whole weekend. And after the weekend ended, I had a friend that I didn't know had worked for Paul Heyman. And like I've never talked about it with him. I had no idea he had that affiliation. This is a guy from a YouTube community that I was a part of that made like custom Titantrons like way back in the day. And it was just someone that like I knew of him, but I just was never, we'd text every once in a while, or he'd send me a new video, or I'd send him something that I was working on, and that was it. And he messages me after WrestleMania, and he was like, hey, he was like, I didn't know that you were doing wrestling photography. And I was like, yeah, man, WrestleMania was the first one. And I've shot like independent wrestling prior to that, right? But like WrestleMania was like my first like WWE show that I photographed, and which is like, that's like starting off by getting like your first Philly cheesesteak in Philadelphia, or the first time you ever Italian food is in Italy, right? Like it's like the top of the top,
right?
And so yeah, he had reached out to me, and he was like, no, I work under Paul Heyman, and he was like, he's always looking for like photographers to capture these shows for his website and such. So like, would you be interested in doing that? And like without hesitation, I was like, yeah. Like, what are you, nuts? Like, of course.
Exactly. Like, of course. You didn't even have to ask. Just tell me what you need.
Yeah. And so really just kind of took off from there. And shortly after that, Money in the Bank 2022, actually here in Las Vegas.
Mm-hmm.
That was the first show that I shot under Heyman. And I mean, that show I was also like a nervous wreck for, because I don't know how many people know this, but Paul Heyman also started off as a photographer.
Yeah.
Yes. Snuck in the Madison Square Garden.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And he worked at Studio 54. And here I am. I used to work at all the nightclubs as a photographer down the road here. So, it's like, weirdly, I'm not saying I'm Paul Heyman, but I'm saying that the parallels are, it's kind of funny how those things align a little bit. And, I guess independent promotion is the next thing that I got to do.
Right.
Release an independent promotion. But
I'll be the ring announcer.
Yeah. But yeah, so, once I did Money in the Bank, I sent the photos and, I got some critiques on just like, hey, this is how we want it to shoot, but this is a good style to, start with. And so I'm very much still able to keep my style. There's little things that I alter up, nowadays and just clean it up a little bit more. Cause I think back then I was really in a more artsy style. And I'm like, okay, well, if I present this to like WWE's team, I want something that can go on the website, but also, holds true to my style of photography. And there's a very thin line that in that world that, you have to tread. But, so that's basically how I got connected with Paul. And then I did SummerSlam in 2022 and, I've done WrestleMania every year, and this weekend I'll be doing a WrestleMania for Paul again. So, just a lot of blessings, I'm very fortunate and, I make sure that I try and capitalize on these opportunities, right? Mm-hmm. Like I try and make the most of them. And actually, I met Paul back in 2023, and it was at the NXT show in Orlando. They loaded up with like Undertaker and Cena.
Yeah, that was a good one.
Yeah. And like the Performance Center is like, it's probably like 30 minutes from my apartment.
Wow.
And so I had reached out and I was just like, hey, do you need coverage for the show? And he was like, yeah. And so then I show up at the Performance Center and it was a little hard. I don't think the people at the Performance Center that handle security believed me. I understand that they got to keep a tight operation, but like, I'm not at NXT every single week. And, not because I don't want to be, but it's a far drive.
Yeah.
That's fair.
I just don't want to do it. It's like, if you guys are in San Antonio, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
It's like saying like, hey, there's an NXT show in New Braunfels every single Tuesday. And it's like, okay, are you guys actually going to drive up all the way to New Braunfels every Tuesday or up to Austin or Temple or something like that? That's
a lot. That's a lot to ask.
And then that traffic on a Tuesday,
because there's only one way to get it. 35.
That's what I was going to say. That's what I'm saying. I'm familiar with the Orlando area, and it's traffic is not fun
at all.
Yeah. No, it's terrible. And also, like, I would have to drive to the PC during like peak rush hour.
Yes,
to be able to set up and be ready and stuff.
Yeah. So, but
I'd do it.
But going back to it, like, I had met Paul at the Performance Center, and I had a very, very good interaction with him. He was standing there backstage at NXT. They have like this long, it's almost like a meeting desk, and he was basically just sitting at one of the corners, and I had kind of done all my gear checks and everything, and I just saw him sitting there, and I walked up to him, and that was my first interaction with him, like face to face. And I was like, hey, I'm Chris Horrell. I'm your photographer this weekend, and it was almost like he was like, oh wait, like what? Okay, cool. And it was like putting two and two together, in a real moment. And I remember him asking me, he was like, what do you think you're gonna get tonight? And I was like, man, I don't know. I said, I'm gonna get whatever I think is fitting, and I'm gonna bring it back to you. And we're gonna make this a special night here. And he like very softly, and it was really wholesome. He like kind of like put his hand on my shoulder, and he was like, "Hey, you know what? Like, go out there and do what you do best." And I was like, "Hey, cool." And in that whole show, I went out, did the photos. He had cut a promo at one point during the show, and literally like stared down the barrel of my camera from the entranceway, which was kind of fun, like I'm like taking photos, but it is not looking at anyone else, but it was like straight down the barrel. And
he's such a great storyteller.
Like but it made for like very compelling photos. When I was even going back to them, I was like, man, like I feel like looking at this photo, like anyone else that looks at it can feel that kind of like hotshot presence through that photo. And so so that's the long story of how I got connected with Paul.
That's amazing, man.
Yeah. Go ahead.
So real quick, just from listening to you talk, when you shoot manias and stuff, are you roaming backstage to try to get shots, like candid shots backstage before they go out, or are you just in the crowd trying to get the action shots or the hot shots or whatever like that? How like run us through a WrestleMania, like tomorrow when you get to the arena and stuff, what would that normally look like from the time you get to the arena until you start taking shots and stuff in the crowd?
Yeah, so I guess first things first, I'm going to give a shout out to super photographer Rich Wade. He does all the backstage stuff.
All right.
He is an incredible photographer, runner, human being as a whole. I met him last year for the first time after we had been on and off talking. But he handles all the backstage stuff. So like when you guys see like the photos of backstage at SummerSlam, backstage at WrestleMania, backstage at these major PLEs, they're all Rich Wade's photos. And that's actually his Instagram handle is Rich Wade Photo. So yeah, you guys definitely check him out.
For sure.
So he handles backstage stuff. So I do want to give that shout out really quick to him. As far as what a day is going to look like for me tomorrow, I'm going to probably get to the stadium around, I would say probably about 2 p.m.-ish. The show goes live at 4. So I'm going to get to the show or get to the stadium probably around, like 1 or 2 p.m. I'm going to make sure all my gear is charged up. I have the right lenses and everything, have an Amazon package that's being shipped in today that has a couple cool little filters for my camera that I can put over the lens. So, be able to make some special photos for tomorrow. And then I'll go into the media line. I'll hopefully have no issues checking in. I say hopefully, but every year it seems to be like I am just like stressed out when I'm in that media line. It all goes well, right? Like, perfect track record so far. But every single time.
That's like me walking through TSA. I don't know why I get nervous. It's like something's gonna go wrong.
Right.
Go ahead.
Yeah. In fact, actually, I think it was at 39. I want to say, like the first day. At 39, I went up to the PR team, in the window or whatever for media, and there was a girl, and I gave her my ID, and she was just like, "Yeah, I don't see your name here." I was like,
"Hey,
and I was like, "Well, it should be on there." And she's like looking through, she's like, "Yeah, I'm not seeing it." And then finally, one of the PR guys that knows me, he was like, "Let him through." He was like, he even looked at the paper and he goes, "Yeah, see, it's right here. He's good, but like he's absolutely going through." And but like my heart just like dropped because I was like, well, if I'm not on the list, like what am I gonna do? Am I gonna go back to the hotel or whatever? So I'll go through the media entrance, and then I'll get escorted to the floor for Allegiant stadium, and then hopefully, assuming everything goes as it's normally gone. I mean, there's always I have anxiety, just going into this. I wish there's a part of me that's like very excited, but there's also a part of me that's like, man, I really need things to go right today as well. And it's hard to get excited. Like the same excitement that I would have going as a fan is not there.
Right.
Because you're working.
Yeah. I mean, because I'm working, but like until I'm standing on that camera platform and I'm able to unpack my bag and get everything going and say my hellos, to the people that I see at these shows all the time, the social media crew, the production crew, like, I feel like I've built like a pretty good, I don't know a friendship per se. We don't meet every day, but it's like it's the same people that I always see, and I'm like, I'm always glad to see them. They're always glad to see me, and it's just wholesome stuff. It's like reconnecting. Like it's like if I saw Travis, tomorrow, like I would pull him aside, dude, how's it going? It's stuff like that. Yeah. And so once I get that done and I'm on that camera platform, then it's like, all right, now we're off. Now the fun begins. Up until that point, it's like stress. Yeah. Making sure I have memory cards, making sure the memory cards are empty. I'm not going to say that I was unprepared one day, but there was a time when I'd forgotten to erase my memory card from like the previous gig that I did.
Yeah, to reformat it.
Yeah, and I was like, well, I don't know if I backed up these photos, but like I'm not making it through this show if I don't read it right now. And luckily, it's never had to come up. So yeah. So there's a couple of photos out there that are lost, to the wind.
It's happened to me. I'm a photographer at my church, and that happened to me one time. I had a service or whatever like that. Looked at my phone, looked at the camera, and I only had space to take 3 pictures. And it was like $200. So I was like, well, hope they don't ask for these pictures.
They're gone.
Yeah. It is like the worst feeling, that or like forgetting your battery. That's a terrible one.
Yes.
Oh my goodness.
But yeah, so I'll get all my gear done, and then or out of my bag, and have my camera bodies on me. I usually shoot with 2, one with a zoom lens and one with a wide angle lens. Because when I'm there, I want to capture the atmosphere. Mm-hmm. Shooting wrestling, and specifically WrestleMania, is so different. And I don't know whoever is going to hear this, but I hope some sports photographers actually listen to this, because
you
got one right here.
Well, I'm saying like a lot of times in sports, right? You want to capture the person.
Yeah.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Like the Masters just happened, and I'm not a big golf guy, but I've seen the photos that have come out from the Masters, and it's Rory McIlroy, and he's celebrating this win, but it's just him, right? Because he's the sole focus, right? And photos that you see of LeBron James on the court, where it's just him, and you want that tight shot because you're focused on the person.
Yeah.
And with wrestling, it's so different. You want the atmosphere. You want the 2 people, but you want that atmosphere behind them.
Yeah.
It's like think of like the Rock Hogan standoff, right? From like WrestleMania 18.
Yeah.
And
right.
If you just had a photo of just the 2 of them and you couldn't see anything in the background, it would be like, okay, that's a cool photo. It's The Rock versus Hulk Hogan. But you zoom out and you get the crowd that's going ballistic.
You feel like you're there.
It adds so much more, because you're like, wow, this is an environment that I kind of wish I was in.
Yes.
And that's what I look for when I'm photographing, matches and such. And last night I was at a dinner, and there was a gentleman from UFC that had asked me. He was like, "Yeah, so do you know the verdict before you go out there?" And I'm like, "No." And even if I had the option, I don't want to know, because I want to be really invested in the result. Me being a part in that crowd right, with my camera, even though I'm not like directly like in the crowd. You know, I'm not in the sea of people. I'm kind of a few feet back, you know, and a little bit elevated. But me being within that atmosphere and really getting to like soak up the noise and the sound, like that helps me create these photos that you want to feel that presence, that environment. So yeah, so that's basically like a WrestleMania day, and I will shoot every single match. I think the hardest part, and I've actually told my wife this because she went to SummerSlam with me back in 2022. The hardest part for me when I'm shooting these matches is sometimes there's so much going on that I don't really actually recall what has happened until I'm going back through the photos, which is like an odd thing to say, but there are things that, you know, at the end of the show, if someone comes up to me directly after the main event bell rings, like, and that match finishes, and they go, "Hey, what happened on like the third match of the third match of the?"
I don't know.
Like, what was the third match? I don't know.
Yeah, I'm like, no idea. I have no clue. I'll remember it, and I'll almost kind of get that back when I go back through my photos.
When you see the picture, you remember what was going on in that moment.
Yeah, exactly. And I really do try and take it in that moment too, as best as I can. But yeah, it's tough. But you know, I wouldn't be anywhere else. Like I wouldn't want to be anywhere else. You know, being in that stadium, watching a product that I absolutely love. And having my camera in hand, which allows me to now create a tangible moment. You know, I love photography and I love wrestling, and I love them both extremely and differently. And to blend those two things together, like that is my happy place. You know, that is where I feel like literally the most in my element. Where I'm not even stressed about getting like a good picture. Like I'm just like, I'm so locked in on what's actually happening.
And I think that's why you get great pictures too, because you're invested in it. You're so locked in that you just happen to take a picture while you're enjoying everything, right?
Yeah. I mean, there's been times where at WrestleMania, you know, I've actually had like the best of both, you know, on one side or the other. You know, I'm the guy that's like, I love the product, I love photography, and this is what I'm here to do. And like, I'm here to make, you know, the Muhammad Ali poster of like the boxing glove on the chest.
Yes.
Taken by this guy Neil Leifer, right? He's like my favorite sports photographer ever. That is what I try and embody when I'm at these shows. Is I'm like, I want that iconic shot.
Picture. Yeah.
I want that picture that's going to live on long after I am, or you know, back at 38, I had caught a photo of Bianca Belair celebrating her title win, and she's looking downward. She's actually looking at both of her parents.
How much can I pay you for that picture so I can put it up in my wall in my office really big?
Yeah, you know what? After we're done here, you could definitely ask me for it. So I don't mind. But
you don't understand. She is the biggest Bianca Belair fan you will ever meet.
Because I was gonna ask you. Sorry to go off on my own. Sorry. I was gonna ask you about SummerSlam in 22, because wasn't that when Becky came back and beat Bianca, or was that 23?
No, that was 21.
That was 21.
That was 21.
So the one we watched was 23, and that's when EO cashed in.
Yeah.
No, but I'm talking about, I watched the one where Becky. No, that was WrestleMania.
No.
That was SummerSlam. That was 21.
21. We was living in Dallas.
Yeah.
That's the same one Brock came back at the end.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's what I was asking.
What I was going to say about
in attendance.
Yeah.
We were both at that show. Got tickets the morning of.
Oh, wow.
The first experience was SummerSlam 21.
That's crazy.
Wow.
What I was going to say about her being a Bianca fan, you don't know this story, but we watched SummerSlam in 23 when the triple threat match Bianca won. She went from the highest of highs to the lowest of lows in 2 seconds.
It was so sad.
Because she was like, she had the belt. She jumped up laughing because Bianca won. And then EO's music hit, and we all remember, oh, she got the money in the bank.
Yeah.
She had to, so we were watching at my house. I didn't realize that she had been gone for a while after. It was like, where did Tay go? Tay is in the back room
Crying.
I'm like,
like real tears crying.
What's going on? Like, but we knew she was distraught.
Real tears crying.
Like, yeah, it was bad, man. It was bad.
Yeah, she's a Bianca fan to the death.
So, needless to say, if you just so happen to get a picture of Bianca winning this weekend,
If she wins.
she will.
I don't have one.
Yeah.
I have a bold prediction actually about Bianca Belair. It's not in particular.
Let's get into it.
It's a very short prediction, but I have a prediction that her entrance is going to involve a 57 Bel Air car. That's my bold
snap. That would be
because
cold.
it's very like Vegas-esque. So
the car shows and all that stuff.
Yeah, so I imagine, maybe a little nod to like an Elvis attire or something like that, or I imagine a very Vegas style theme. I don't know anything, but that is my guess.
If she comes out,
you're on commentary right now, thinking Bianca Belair, arriving in a Bel Air, like I just like that makes sense.
Because Michael Cole's gonna paint that picture perfectly.
Yeah.
Yes.
If she comes out in a 57 Bel Air, you might be as good of a predictor as I am.
No,
this guy.
No, because he does. Listen, like when we took our break to pretty much give the platform a facelift, right?
Yeah.
We would still be, like we're family, so like we talk wrestling all the time.
Yeah.
And predictions and everything like that. When I tell you, Ted he's in the 90, 96, whatever percentile on
he's right
predictions. Like it's wild, man.
Not to sound crazy, but I hit so much people would think I'm in a production meeting before the show.
Literally. Like Triple H needs to hire him for real.
No, it's wild. It's a wild situation. And it will all case in point, the Elimination Chamber. Now, we sat there and said, well, what if this... He literally called how Jade would insert herself before the match.
The only thing that was off is Jade didn't replace Naomi in the match. That's the only little detail that I missed.
That was it. But other than that, the doors, the cage doors open, her music hits. I said, well, I'll be...
Because I said it. I said her music is going to hit right before the match starts.
Yeah.
And sure enough, Naomi was in there. They were closing the cage and Jade music went on.
Wow. Yeah. I was like,
he called it to a T.
That appearance was awesome.
It was. And the one prediction I'm very proud of myself is the men's Royal Rumble winner. I'm very proud of myself on that. Because I called that to a T.
I also had Jay winning, and I think a lot of people, at least in my group of friends that are wrestling fans, they're like, "Are you crazy?" I was like, "No." Like, I was like, Jay's definitely like the dark horse going into this, and I think
so it so hot. But at the same time, there were so many major players. Mm-hmm. Like Punk was on a high horse. Roman was in it. Like Jay was so hot as a person. He was like, I can like when he picked Jay, I said I wholeheartedly understand why you picked Jay, but you still have Roman, Punk, and everybody else. So like I can agree with that. I didn't say Jay wasn't going to win. I understood it, but I was like, that's definitely a Hail Mary, specifically this year with all the players that were in it. But he called it. He called it.
But going as far as who's winning championships and going back to Bianca and the match and everything, I don't have Bianca winning. Like I don't.
Well, I guess let's
go into that one.
Yes, yeah.
I will. Everybody knows Bianca Belair in 5. So that's fine. But remember, I did, Chris, I did a public apology to Bianca Belair because I bet against her. I bet against her in Elimination Chamber.
You said Roxanne Perez, I think you said?
Yeah.
That was your
Wasn't even a major player. She picked. She went way off.
She picked Roxanne.
So the next week I did an apology and I said I'm never betting against Bianca again. So
don't sell yourself short. It was a 6-minute promo.
It was a whole promo.
I mean, she typed it out the whole night.
It was well thought out. I'm like a PR person. Yeah. I gotta. So my pick is Bianca. Y'all can go ahead and duke it out with y'all's predictions, but mine's Bianca. Now I'm gonna sit back.
I got EO retaining.
I love that.
I got EO retaining as well.
I'd agree with. I said EO. Yeah, I agree with EO as well.
Yeah.
I don't think Rhea's getting it, and I think the current situation with Jade and Naomi is gonna bleed over and cost Bianca.
Yeah,
and Rhea's gonna be collateral damage on that.
I see I see that happening for sure. Like the Naomi and Jade program bleeding over into Bianca. I think initially coming out of WrestleMania, I think EO retains, and I think we get a little program with Rhea and Bianca. And maybe that carries us through, Backlash with a one-on-one match or something like that. Or, they don't have to do the one-on-one match. They could do the one-on-one match at SummerSlam or something like that. But I think we'll get a small program with them. I think EO will actually go on and have a different program with somebody, for the women's championship. And then I think further down the line when that program with Rhea and Bianca starts to fizzle out or reach its end, then I think that's where the Jade and Naomi thing comes back into play. And I fully think that we'll still get Bianca versus Jade next year at WrestleMania. I actually thought it was going to happen this year, but I'm not mad at all.
I think we all thought it was going to be Bianca and Jade at Mania this year.
Yeah.
But I love the idea of Naomi versus Jade, and I think Naomi's done such a phenomenal job as a heel. So,
heel Naomi was
very, very happy with this program.
Absolutely,
for sure. Yeah,
which is why, and we talked about this over the phone. Me and Ted is I said it could happen at Mania. He's saying night after Mania, Raw after Mania, which when he explained it does make a lot more sense for it to happen this way. But I do feel like because the presentation is that Bianca had nothing to do with the Jade attack, and it was all Naomi. That Jade and Bianca are still a unit, and that's when Nia inserts herself to back Naomi.
Yeah, he said it happens at Mania. The reason I said it would happen after Mania is because you'd have to have Nia explain why helping Naomi is bigger than getting back at Tiffany for cashing in on her.
Yeah.
That's the only reason I don't think it would happen at Mania.
Yeah. And that's where, when he explained that to me, I was like, yeah, that does make sense. Because I totally forgot the Tiffany component and how she lost the belt. Because he had to remind me that immediately after she lost, she was on Raw challenging Rhea for the world belt.
Yeah.
So it was like, oh, yeah, you're right. So
there's just a lot of stuff that happened between the Jade and Nia thing at the Rumble to now that as a wrestling fan, you'd think, okay, you'd want to get back to the person who cashed in on you and took your title from you versus to go help. I know that's your family, but the title's bigger. So for her to come back and jump back in there, she'd have to explain why helping Naomi is bigger than getting back at Tiffany, to me. So that's the only reason I don't think it would happen at Mania.
Yeah. Okay, y'all. So what are we most excited about for this weekend? What is the match you're excited about, or whatever that you're excited about happening, Chris?
Yeah. There's a few things that I'm really excited about.
Yeah. Up and down.
Oddly enough, okay, some of these are just predictions, right?
Yeah.
They're things that happen. But I really, really hope that by the time everything is said and done on Sunday night, I hope to have a photo of Stone Cold stunning The Rock.
Oh,
That is what I want. I want to hear the flashback.
yes.
Because Austin is gonna be there.
Yes.
Yeah, like I don't know how that interaction is going to happen. I think, with a Cody match, and this is not a knock on Cody at all. I
Yeah.
think pro wrestling is fantastic when sometimes it gets so overbooked that you're just like, okay, I'm along for the ride. There's times where
Like Mania last year.
yes,
Absolutely.
yeah, exactly. Like one of the most fun main events that I've ever seen. And just like even for me working, I was like, when all the music started hitting, I mean, I'm sitting there behind my camera, but I'm geeking out, right?
Yeah.
I'm like,
Yeah.
oh my gosh, like this is crazy. When the Shield music hit, okay, I'm not gonna lie, I was one of those guys that was like, is Mox in
That's
here?
what Travis said.
Yeah.
That's what Travis
Like-
said when he heard the music.
And I was one of those guys. I'm looking around, but it was like the butterflies in my stomach were insane. And the Undertaker's, the bell hitting, I was like, I love that kind of stuff. And I feel like John Cena and Cody Rhodes will have that kind of finale, right?
Yeah.
They'd have to almost.
Yeah, I don't know for sure. Part of me can very much believe that Cena wins.
Yeah.
Right.
But
And I don't think I'll be mad whether or not it happens, right?
Yeah.
Like I don't want to say that I'm not invested in Cena winning or Cody winning, but I'm like, dude, this is, at least to me as a fan that has his own view on it, I feel like this is a win-win scenario. If Cena
Literally.
wins,
Right.
that's great. If Cody wins, that's great. You have so much that can happen from either one of these two stories. My thing is how do we get The Rock and Stone Cold involved? And I'm sure Travis Scott's going to make an appearance. So that's something that I'm very excited for. We didn't really talk about this match, but a match I'm very excited for is Drew versus Priest in the Sin City Street Fight.
that's what we talked about that too. Yeah.
Yeah, I think they have done an exceptional, phenomenal job at building their program themselves.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
And I hate saying it that way, but there are programs that you see on TV that you're like, okay, this was built by the company's booking, right? The creative team's booking. And I feel like when I'm watching the Drew and Priest program, I think it's two guys that realize that, hey, not many people, at least in the beginning, were invested in our match. Let's do something ourselves to make this more impactful.
Yes.
And I feel like that's more wrestler creative driven.
Yes.
Than it is the creative team driving it.
But I think that's the same thing that happened with the Gunther and Jay. I think that's the same kind of thing that happened because remember me and Travis talked on the phone and we're like, Gunther and Jay is, at the time, it's not a main event match.
Yeah.
It's not even starting the show. It's somewhere in the middle. But I think they came out with the segment with Jimmy when Gunther beat Jimmy to a pulp. I think they knew we need to do something to get people more invested in this match, especially if Jay is winning. You needed to do something to get people behind it. And so I think what you were talking about with Drew and Priest taking it upon themselves and say we need to do something to really drive the excitement for this match. I think that same thing happened for Gunther and Jay. That point you just made. So yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I agree, and that's a moment that I'm looking forward to. I would have a hard time believing that Jay is going to lose this weekend. So
Yeah.
my head already seeing all the hands in the air
Oh my
and
God.
getting that holding the championship.
I got tears ready.
Not
Yeah,
tears.
I got tears ready. Because there's two.
He cried when he won the Rumble, didn't he?
Listen, I'm waiting. I've been waiting to drop that video because my wife captured that moment with me and my daughter, and I am When that happens, I'm mashing those two situations together, and I'm putting it out when it happens.
Oh, you'd be sick if Gunther wins, then.
I would be sick. You know what I'm saying? I would be beside myself.
If Gunther wins,
I'm
you
crashing.
Still post it.
I am Drew McIntyre crashing out.
Not Drew McIntyre level.
On that level, I'm crashing all the way out.
God, that's crazy.
But I am looking forward to seeing Jay get his due. You know, I'm looking forward to it. I got my attire ready for it.
I'm gonna just tell you, if Gunther wins, I'm gonna call you with his theme song playing in the background.
Hey, man,
I'm gonna call you with Drew's theme song playing in the background,
and I'm gonna go on live, driving to your house, and banging on the door like the feds open up.
I'm gonna find me a trench coat.
I will cause a disturbance in your neighborhood.
I'm gonna find a trench coat, post up in front of your garage, and blast Gunther's theme song just standing there.
Nah, don't do that. Don't do that.
The ring general. Gunther.
Nah, but I'm
Travis.
But I am looking forward to that match, and another match that I'm looking forward to. I'm looking forward to not necessarily like the match per se, but just the end result and what the emotion is going to bring out of is Jacob Fatu winning the U.S. Championship.
Yeah.
I really want that. I've been following Jacob for a long time, and being able to see. I had the pleasure of meeting Jacob. What are we in 2025? No, last year, like a few months before Mania. Him and Zilla had a tag match in Dallas for GCW. So I was able to, I was there for that match, and then I went backstage to their locker room and was like able to sit down and kind of hang with all of them, and just really like kind of hearing his story a little bit for people that was around that, just like, yo, like how you feel and stuff like that. And Jacob is a real, like, if you look at the interviews that he's done like back in the day, just kind of like just kind of getting to know him. He's the same dude off camera. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
What you see on camera is him. It's just a heightened version of him. But off camera, super cool dude. Like, real down to earth. Zilla the same way. You feel what I'm saying? So
yeah.
But to follow his journey from MLW, him being the longest reigning MLW heavyweight champion, and to being able to see him on the indie scene, and then watching him get signed to WWE, and because he got signed around the time we were in Philly last year. And
yeah, I think it was right before.
Yeah, he signed right before Mania.
Yeah, right before. So seeing that and then watching his debut, and it's like everybody that watched him, show up on that SmackDown. It was like we all said it, like it's only a matter of time,
literally,
before he gets pushed into a situation where he's the focal point, and it looks like that's happening. And there's no build up, there's no progression period that he needs. He's already he's seasoned, he's polished, he has it. And when he wins that U.S. championship, the roof is going to detach from the stadium. It is.
Yeah.
And I'm so waiting for that. Now I know you said that you want the Stone Cold stunning the Rock situation. As you said that, I had a thought. This is so far fetched. This is so far fetched. This is
as it normally is.
This is just my retro, but sometimes it hits.
Yeah, sometimes it do.
Sometimes it hits, like the lottery. Sometimes it hits. I went back to just thinking of Stone Cold and thinking of the players, and not necessarily just Rock and Cena, but really the connection between Austin and Cody.
Yeah.
When Austin was in WCW, a lot of promises were made from the booker, who just happened to be Dusty, because that U.S. championship, that version of the U.S. championship, is something that Austin was going back and forth with Dustin about. And so he would go and win those championships, and Dusty would be like, hey, we're going to put the U.S. title on you, then we're going to take you here, boom, boom, boom. Well, you remember when he got fired and went to ECW, he said all that never happened. So a lot of that chip on his shoulder from where we saw from ECW to when they finally gave him the mic in WWE, a lot of that kind of is still like bled over, even to like to the end of his in-ring career. So I think this is just me, and I don't see Austin as a petty dude like that. But maybe, what if it's not about Cena getting his 17th championship? What if it's I remember the lie your daddy told me back when I was coming up.
Yeah, okay.
I'm not saying that just came to my mind. I was like, that would be.
I don't think my brain can handle that.
So yeah, I can agree with that. I'm more so thinking Austin can show up because remember Austin was supposed to be in Taker's spot last year, but they had a money issues why he wasn't there. So he could, and he had said on his social media that Cody got a friend if you need him, that whole thing. So if they do, like Chris was saying, a finale like they did last year, if the money right, if they can hash that out and Austin's over it, since he's gonna be in Vegas anyway, it wouldn't be far fetched that he's just there because he was supposed to be there last year, but he wasn't going to Philly. The money wasn't right, but this year he's in Vegas anyway.
Yeah, but the money still got to be right.
I mean, the money. He said the money had to be right for him to leave his home to go to Philly.
That's true.
But he's already in Vegas this year, is what I'm saying.
If it doesn't happen that way, this would tell me how much of a Vince guy that Austin is.
Yeah.
Well, all them dudes is really low to Vince because Vince get them boys opportunities and stuff.
Absolutely.
So
But that's what I'm saying.
But I will say,
if Taker can do it,
no. But what I will say, Austin and Triple H do have a very, very, very good relationship with each other. And
they do.
And like I said, the issue of him not showing up wasn't against Triple H or anything. It's because Austin lives in Timbuktu, somewhere in Nevada, and he was like, it just wasn't enough to go up. His own words, it was not enough money for me to go to cold ass Philly.
Nah, it was.
That's what it was. Bro,
it was so cold last year,
man. Ain't good for your joints.
Unbelievably cold.
That's what he said. So like, he lives in Nevada. He's already going to be in Vegas. That's why I say him showing up. It wasn't about Triple H or anything like that. It was just, and I don't blame him. Like for me to leave my home in Texas to go do something in cold ass Philly, you got to meet my dollar amount.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So I don't think that's why I think that particular situation was a money issue.
Right.
Because at his age, them boys can't be messing with 30, 40 degree weather like that. So, so that's what I'm saying. I don't think it'll be like he's a Vince guy over a Triple H guy because him and Triple H are very close. They both he's very open about his relationship with Triple H. He just did like a whole 2-3 minute video on Twitter about how close him and Triple H are and all this other stuff. So I don't think that's an issue. I just think it's a matter of, is that how it's going to play out? Because we can do this big Monstars type finale, but the ending still has to make sense moving forward. They did it last year because that story was ending. This story isn't ending on Sunday. It's not ending
Absolutely
on Sunday.
Not.
But that's what I'm saying. I'm saying. It made sense last year because that story was ending that night.
Right.
So you can go out like that. But I don't think it's not ending this Sunday. So you got to see how it'll play out to where it makes sense for both people. You know what I'm saying? So,
Yeah. I do know, I don't know if you guys saw this, but I do know John Cena has an appearance on Raw the following night.
Yeah, the Raw. Cena is scheduled for a lot of shows after Mania. A lot of shows.
Which I mean, I don't know if it was like already known that he was going to appear on the Raw after Mania, but I had really only recently seen it, and I was like, okay, well, there's a good chance that he opens the show with coming out with his world championship.
Yeah,
he wins and brings the spinner back.
Yeah.
That would be funny.
You talking about Hell Cena? A lot of people don't like the spinner belt, so
That would be funny.
That would be hilarious.
Oh my god.
Yeah. It'll I think overall this weekend though, it is the right amount. Everyone can talk about how they want or how they want about the build going into WrestleMania. I can also agree it's been very like it's been too long, right?
Mhm.
I don't even think it's a problem of that there's not enough going into it that makes you feel excited for it, but I think it's just that stretch of time between
Mhm.
Rumble and Mania, with Mania being later, it's just too long.
Yeah.
And but I think regardless, we're set for so much unpredictability this weekend, and I think that's the fun part.
Yeah.
Right.
and that was going to be my thing because you asked what are we most looking forward to. I'm most like
Yeah.
what's going to happen in the matches, in between the matches. That's what I'm most excited for.
Yeah.
Like
I love
like
that.
another thing I'm really excited for is the logistics of night 1 versus night 2. Everyone's
Yes.
looking at night 2 and they're like, wow, night 2 is the way better card.
Mhm.
Well, if I'm on night 1, I'm fired up and I'm
Right.
going to want to deliver something that has night 2 going, yeah, follow that.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
We talked about it.
That's the fun part of being a fan
Right.
is that excitement is okay. Well, is night 1 going to actually like now end up being the show stealer of the weekend? You know, like the
Yeah.
NXT takeovers of old, right? Like,
Jeez, man.
so like I think that's the fun thing, and
Yeah.
and that doesn't come down to a particular match. That just comes down to how is this all going to unfold? Are we going to come out of WrestleMania 41 in the same way that we did 31, where everyone looks at 31 and they're like, wow, like the build for that was terrible, but that is
that pay-per-view was crazy.
top 5 or at least Mania.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And then
So,
we had
yeah.
talked about if you look at the match cards, like the graphics for night 1 versus night 2,
They're different.
like it literally looks like they feel like night 2 is going to be the creme de la creme.
Yeah.
But if you look at the card, especially the main event, Seth and Roman are used to being on night 2.
Mm-hmm.
They're gonna have a point to prove.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So
So I just think it's I'm so excited for this weekend.
Yeah.
And there's part of me that is so excited to get to tomorrow, right?
Mhm.
Like I'm so excited to wake up tomorrow morning and be like, it's WrestleMania day.
Today
Right?
is
I have
the
a friend
I
that's flying in
cannot
from
wait.
Denver.
Mhm.
I have a friend that's flying in from Denver that I've known for 15 years. He's been a fan as long as I've known him, and this is his first WrestleMania.
Wow.
And it's like he's so excited, and it's those things that I get excited for too.
Yeah.
And I'm going to want from the moment I wake up tomorrow to not want Sunday to end.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Oh,
yeah.
man.
Like,
man,
'Cause you gotta wait a whole nother year for
Man.
this, man. It's like,
Yeah.
that's why, like you said with your friend, when me and Tay first got together, she wasn't in wrestling like she is now. Like she
No.
used to
Yeah.
watch it, but
As
she
a
was
kid.
so far removed from it.
Yeah.
So when we first
Yeah.
started talking, I was watching I think it was 36 or 37 when they were in Tampa and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
was-
37.
We were on
Yeah.
the phone. But when I moved to Dallas, I got her into luckily that was the height of Roman when he was
Yeah.
but got her into that first
Yeah.
Mania we watched together. It was like a very proud moment because you're here now.
Yeah.
You're in this. You get it.
I was so invested that first time.
You get it. Like so, I can definitely I feel you on that too. Like as a fan, like I was just telling them, my first live event ever was 20 in New York. That was my
Mhm.
first one, and so understanding what that did for me as a fan, I was already locked in. But what that did to me as a fan, it was kind of cool to now she's getting back into it, but now she's invested in the characters and the
Like
storylines.
I was so invested. We went on Peacock and we were watching like all the way back to like
We started
like
in 96
96
and watched all of them, all as far as up we
and
could
caught all the way
Yeah. And I was explaining everything. I was putting the dots into this and that, like everything. Because,
Mhm.
you know, like I'm a photographer, I'm a football player, but wrestling is like the end all be all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As far
Yeah.
as my fandoms and stuff go. And it's kind of cool that you find people like that's how Travis and I connected at church.
Yeah.
My bishop, who was her godfather, he was like, "Hey, Travis Perry watched wrestling," and we were at a married couples thing at Golden Corral. The first thing, you watch wrestling? He was like, "Yeah." He asked me, I was like, "Yeah." He said, "No, do you watch wrestling?" And he was like, I was like, "Yeah." He was like, "What's one of your favorite matches?" And I was like, Bret Hart versus British Bulldog. He's like, "Okay, you watch wrestling."
Yeah. Yeah, I was like, okay, yeah, we can go somewhere because don't nobody just throw out Brett and Bulldog
At SummerSlam.
You gotta know.
Yeah.
You got to know what you're talking about for that. I'm like, okay, yeah, we can definitely do this.
match.
Yeah, the SummerSlam match. Yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely. But another one, and we talked about this on the phone too. The victory I'm looking forward to, and if it doesn't happen, I'm gonna be very upset.
Mm-hmm.
Dominic Mysterio has to come out as Intercontinental Champion.
Yes.
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 100%.
Yes.
1,000% yes.
Yes. I'm ready for the era.
That's gonna really shake the foundation of that stadium.
I'm ready for
That-
Dom
I'm
to.
so ready.
I'm ready for
Ugh.
Dom to embrace that Eddie Guerrero.
Yeah.
I'm ready for it.
Shout out to
Yeah.
Dom.
Yeah, because we really
And,
love Dom over here. We really do like.
We
Dom.
do. I love Dom.
Hey,
I love
count
him.
me in. Count me
Yeah.
in. I think he's a great talent. I think for sure he's going to be the future. And you know, I am one of those guys that I'll admit it firsthand. I had to turn the leaf on Dom, right?
No, I
Mhm.
did too.
Like-
I hated Dom when he first came.
Yes.
When he first came in, it's not even that I hated him, but I was like, man, I'm a big Rey Mysterio fan.
Mhm.
Okay.
Absolutely.
And I've seen Dom on my screen since 2006
Yeah.
here
Yeah.
and there. And it is just like one of those things that when he first started coming into the company, I was like, man, I feel like he's just like under his dad's wing, and I desperately want him to break out of that. Not because I thought he was terrible, but I was just like, if you're gonna do it, like get out
Like,
from
do
under
it.
that.
Yeah.
Right.
And you know, he had the 38 match with Logan Paul and The Miz, and I thought that was a great showcase. His 39 match against his dad, awesome. His,
No, the match, the entrance.
The entrance alone.
I was flipping out, you know,
The
when
entrance was so fire.
when his entrance was coming on, you know. I am so happy to see where Dom is at because he does not feel like he's under his dad's shadow.
No.
Right?
At all.
It feels like he is so completely removed from that in like the best way possible.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you know, like I'm stoked to see that when that heel turn was happening. I think it was like literally early in that match. I was telling my wife, I was like, man, I don't know what they're doing with Dominic, but he's really got to do something different. And it was like literally at the end of the match is when he turned,
Yeah.
did the heel turn. Like, thank God, you know.
And
Like, finally,
it was
we're doing
perfect.
something here.
It was
Yeah.
so perfect.
Yeah. So, and I'm actually going to go back to a point really quick because we were talking about significant others and watching wrestling with them and such. And my wife, when her and I first started getting together, right, like when we first started dating, she knew I was a wrestling fan, and she's like from like middle of Missouri. And a lot of the people that she grew up around that were wrestling fans she was just like, I don't get it.
Yeah.
You know, it's like I think in her head, she was just like, yeah, it just seems like, you know, country boy stuff or whatever. Like her view of wrestling was so honestly incredibly skewed. That's how I'm going to say it.
Yeah.
And, but she was very, very invested in, like, she's like a Broadway kind of person. She loves Broadway plays. She loves music.
That's funny.
And yeah, and like, you know, she was like head of her dance team, you know, in high school and such. So the choreography, there's something there to it. And I sat her down when we first started dating, and I was like, hey, the first event that we watched together was the Royal Rumble, the 2021 Royal Rumble.
Yes.
Which I think is great, a great
Yes.
starter for anyone that ever wants to get into wrestling, because you get a sense of who these people are, and it's a little bit rapid fire, but like you all of a sudden you start seeing different personalities, right?
Yeah.
So her and I were watching it, and I told her, I was like, the best way to view wrestling for you is going to be, think of it like a Broadway play, but there's a live action audience that is like a part of it. Think of it like a Broadway play that has crowd participation in it. And everyone you see on the screen has a story, and they all have different stories, and they all interconnect. And once I told her to view it like that, she was like, boom, I get it. And I mean, she doesn't watch like regularly or anything, but like she knows what's happening, you know, this weekend, or she knows like the stories going into this weekend. And so when she's there, she's going to be like, oh my gosh, like, yeah, I'm invested in what's going to happen at this show. And I think that's a really cool thing. And you know, I think, I mean, I watch stuff with her all the time, right? Like she's a big Taylor Swift girl. I didn't know anything about Taylor Swift beforehand. I'm a hip hop head through and through, so Taylor Swift was never ever on my radar. But you know, like to this day, we went to the Taylor Swift show back in 2023, like literally right after WrestleMania, and I didn't know anything, and I to this day will say that that's probably one of the best concerts I've ever attended, just because of because of the atmosphere, right?
Like the whole stadium participates.
Yeah. And I say all that because I feel like wrestling is the same thing. You don't have to know about it, but once you experience it, you almost have no choice but to get wrapped up in it.
Absolutely.
And I think that's the beauty of it.
That's how it was. We took her, the SmackDown in Austin was her first live event, I believe. And going up to it, I was like, okay, think of it as a family reunion with cousins you've never met, but y'all are all family. You're going to have conversations with people like you've met them your whole life. You won't know their name, won't know nothing about them. But when we leave, you'll probably never see them again. We get to the arena, we got there early, and she was out. She had a conversation with a dude for 30 minutes. I said, what's his name? I don't know.
It's just like that, man. Like, it's so many like-minded, like I said earlier, like-minded people. You go in, it doesn't matter what you got going on in your personal life. When you don't even, it's not even once you get through the turnstile and when you walk through the threshold of the arena. It's when you are literally, when you pull into the parking lot.
Yes.
And you get out of the car. I don't care if you and your girl or whomever was having a really, you know, big disagreement in the car. It does not matter once you step outside. Because once you're walking up there, all you care about is, we finna go watch a show. And so many of my like Ted said, my distant relatives that I've never met in my life, we're all congregated in one spot, and we're all dressing up. We have stories on when we first started watching it. Like probably one of the coolest things like that ever happened to me when we was out here. It was a Raw, the same Raw that Braun decided to flip over the semi.
Oh yeah.
I was with my wife and my daughter, and I had one of the belts over here around my shoulder, and somebody from WWE, and I really wish they had like posted it but they were going around getting fan interactions, and I had like a small like interview like right there about, you know, what wrestling meant to me, who I was with, and being able. I was like, yo, this is crazy. So it's. I've never had an experience like that doing anything other thing.
Anything else?
And wrestling, professional wrestling, in particular WWE, there is no other fandom like it. your favorite rapper, your favorite singer, your favorite actor,
comedian.
They're all wrestling fans.
Football, basketball, they're soccer, hockey, they're all wrestling fans. All of them.
Yeah. Well, I mean, one of my favorite rappers nowadays, and look, I'll be the first to say I didn't get it at first, right? But I absolutely love West Side Gun. And
shout out to West Side, fourth rope wrestling promotion.
Yeah. There was and I'm like I'm a big hip hop guy. You know, it just that's a whole nother avenue that I can just go down. But you know, one of my favorite producers is this guy, The Alchemist, and he's amazing. And so, I think the first time I ever heard a West Side Gun feature on an Alchemist beat, I was like, oh, okay, you know, this is all right, but I don't really know what's happening here, and you know, at least sonically, and then I started going through like West Side Gun's discography, and he has so many wrestling themed song titles, right? And then I was like, okay, he's got a song called Steamboat versus Savage. He's got a song Sean versus Flair, and I was like, this is pretty cool. And you know, I like the theme of it, and I think one of the things that clicked for me with West Side Gun is he has a cadence, and he has a very unique style when he raps. And it is very professional wrestling gimmick-esque. And it clicked for me because I was like, no one out here is going to do it the same way as he does. And it doesn't matter if it's silly. It doesn't matter if it sounds funny. It's uniquely his. And anyone that tries to copy it, someone's going to know, oh, you're just trying to do the same thing as West Side Gun. And it is weirdly like a gimmick of hip-hop. And like, I don't know how else to describe it. Gimmick of hip hop where, you know, he does the ad libs and such, and you're just like, yeah, this is almost like it's like I'm listening to like a character, or you know, I don't know how deep you guys are into hip hop, but like you know, MF Doom, another favorite. He has the Victor Vaughn character, right? He has the Quasimodo character, and there's so many different gimmicks, but you listen to MF Doom raps, and he raps about Kurt Angle, and he raps about and such, and it's really cool to see influences just kind of randomly pop up in music, but you all of a sudden they start making sense of like, oh wait, MF Doom is rapping about Kurt Angle, and all of a sudden now I understand why he has this character and this gimmick and such, and he may have taken it from wrestling. I think the first mask MF Doom ever had was a cane mask that he painted silver before he got the infamous gladiator mask. So it's you know, it goes back. Everything's pro wrestling, right? So,
everything's pro wrestling.
Top battle rappers today are putting pro wrestling in their schemes. You know, in their raps. You know, where it goes from, you know, from chess to DNA. DNA. Even Tay-Rock with like DNA does a whole recap after big shows, like after the first night of Raw on Netflix. He did a whole like
his scheme was a recap of the show.
Yeah, it was a recap of the show, and it's like, but he's done that I think like 2 or 3 times now. So I can only imagine what it's gonna sound like after this WrestleMania weekend in the Raw after Mania. Like it's gonna be crazy.
Yeah, that'll be awesome.
Yeah. All right, guys. So let's play a game before we end.
Okay.
We're going to do a rapid fire predictions. I'm going to go through the whole card. You give your prediction. You only have 10 seconds to say why, and then you're done, and nobody gets to rebut it.
Oh.
Okay.
So we have the match. You gave your prediction, 10 seconds on why, and nobody can rebut.
Nobody can rebut.
Oh boy. All right, cool.
All right, I like it.
10, 15 seconds. I'm not going to keep a timer, but you got a little bit of time. Okay, so the order will go, it'll be like this. So Chris, you'll go first, then Ted, then me, then Travis.
All right.
And then the next one will go the other way around. So Travis, Chris.
Rotation. We'll get confused.
Okay. Same.
Yeah, just keep it simple.
I'm too much.
Elementary as possible.
I overthink. Okay, y'all ready to get started?
Okay.
Yep.
All right.
I think so.
We might have already talked about it, but I'm gonna just go through the whole card. Okay, first, Gunther versus Jay for the World Heavyweight Championship.
Chris.
Jay.
Okay.
Jay, and I don't even need a reason. It's
Jay.
it has to happen. There's no reason I can't.
Jay for the moment.
Jay. Yeet.
Jay for the moment. He got a new addition to the tattoo.
All right.
He did.
No, I say he got a neck tattoo.
Okay. Triple threat match: Roman, CM Punk, Seth. Chris.
Rollins. Seth Rollins. The diffusion of Paul Heyman between Roman and Punk. It's gonna have to. I'll play into it.
I'm gonna say Roman. I'm gonna stick with. I'm gonna say Roman.
All right.
Paul Heyman. He's gonna come out on
he's
top
not a
of
winner.
this.
He's not.
He's gonna come out on top of
No.
Fine.
No.
Seth. Seth.
No.
Well, right.
We said we had to pick a winner of the match. Paul Heyman cannot win the match.
He can.
But
No, he's not.
he can
All
win the
right.
scenario. He can come out. He can be the
winner
of the scenario.
Okay, then Seth, because it makes sense.
Same, Seth. The writing's on the wall for Seth.
Okay, WWE Women's Championship: Tiffany Stratton versus Charlotte Flair.
Ooh,
This is the only match I'm hung up on.
It's got. Oh, I don't want to say Charlotte, but it's
This is the
Charlotte.
only match I'm hung up on, bro.
Probably Charlotte.
Probably Charlotte. I might change by tomorrow night, but probably Charlotte.
Five.
I'm gonna say Charlotte. The reason being is because Tiffany can't beat her clean, but I don't see what run-in would happen.
I'm going with Charlotte because she is the queen, and I think if she loses, she's gonna crash out.
I think Tiffany, no matter how personal they've gotten, Charlotte is professional. She'll put Tiffany over just for the moment, for them to run it back in St. Louis for Backlash, and that's where I feel like Charlotte will come out on top and be champion again, because you cannot put a Flair in a Missouri wrestling match and that not come out on top.
Okay.
All right.
Wait, before we go to the next one, does Tiffany beat her clean? Just
Off a
quick.
mistake.
Okay, fair.
Okay.
Off of a mistake.
Taking my reason.
I
Love
think
that.
it's going to be a stiff match. I expect
Very
a lot of.
It's gonna be
Very stiff. It's too personal.
It's not gonna be fluid at all. It's not gonna be fluid.
Yeah.
It's one thing I'm weirdly excited about, but probably for all the wrong reasons.
That's just the only match I'm hung up on. Like, I can't confidently say one or the other is going to win.
Tiffany went on a roll up. That's how Tiffany wins. Tiffany wins exactly how Sting beat Flair in 1990.
Okay.
I love it. Okay, next United States Championship match: LA Knight, or Jacob Fatu.
Give me Jacob Fatu.
I love it.
I'm saying Jacob because I was never on LA Knight's train.
I say Jacob because I just love him.
It's his time.
It's his time.
You know what I mean?
Fatu, baby.
Period. Shout out to you, Jacob. You are a friend of the pod. Okay. The next one, the singles match between Rey Mysterio and El Grande Americano.
This is so silly.
No, it's perfect actually. It's perfect actually.
It's so silly though.
It's perfect.
You know what? This is controversial, but I think El Grande Americano pulls out a cheap win.
Yes.
Cheap win.
That's what I was finna say.
Not clean by any means.
That's what I was finna say. He's gonna do it, and it's gonna ruin Ray's night like it should.
Shout out to Ray. No disrespect, but I'm going with El Grande Americano. Shout out to Chad Gable. Allegedly,
It's not Chad.
shout out allegedly to Chad Gable. for this WrestleMania moment. Love that for you.
It's not Chad Gable.
Shout out to Chad Gable.
He's not in the match.
Shout out to Chad Gable.
But he's not in the match.
Or Chad Gable's going to be in catering.
You're supposed to rebut me.
No, I didn't rebut. You gave no. Listen,
that's not the game.
That's not a rebuttal. A rebuttal would be no, Ray is winning because of such and such.
You're not supposed to say nothing. You got commentary on everybody.
You said no rebuttal, no comment. You didn't say no comment.
All right, go ahead, Trap.
After calling him Travis 7 times.
El Grande Americano, because I don't foresee them. I don't see 2 Mysterios going over.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that. All right, next up we have the tag team championship match, the War Raiders versus can't say it like that no more. The New Day. They heels now. You can't. New Day. I forget I'm not supposed to like them.
I know we're supposed to keep this 10 seconds, but I'm going to speed around it real quick.
You're the guest. You can do what you want.
Yeah, thank you. I'm not invested in this match, and I really wish I was, because their heel turn was fantastic.
Right.
But I don't foresee the War Raiders losing their titles, but I do want the New Day to win, but I just really want the legs to really take off with this again, because I think their heel turn was hot. It was really, really strong. They had a ton of heat going off the back of it, and then I just feel like it kind of cooled down a little bit. And I'm going to say New Day, but I wish the War Raiders had a better tag team championship run.
Yeah.
So that's my take on it.
I love that.
But I'll say the New Day. Yeah.
This might be my hot take, but I think the War Raiders win, and it's going to be a Big E distraction somehow.
Love it. I love that. First, I want to say shout out to the War Raiders. They've gone through a lot in just the time that I've been back into wrestling and everything like that. From, Viking Raiders to the vicious Viking Raiders to all of that. Yeah, all of that stuff. So injuries and all of that, and bouncing back from that, winning the title. Shout out to y'all, but I do think the New Day takes this one.
Yeah, I do too. Just for the legend aesthetic of it all, because because even now with the breakup of the Usos, they can now become or tied with, or with the longest reigning, or not longest reigning, but
the most titles.
Yeah, the most titles, most title wins.
They have that record.
No, the Usos broke it.
No, the Usos have the longest reign, but the New Day have the most title reigns.
So they already have it?
Yeah, the Usos already have. So we talking about when the Usos was champions. Remember that match against the New Day? That was to break the record for the longest reign. But the New Days have the most reigns.
Okay, so
yeah,
just because they still together, I'm just gonna say New Day, so they can really have their moment type situation. Yeah. So. And this new New Day situation.
The New Day. I love that. Okay. Wrapping up Saturday night. Jade Cargill versus Naomi.
Oh, man. This is also a tough one, because I feel like Jade needs to win. But Naomi's character has been so great. I think Jade will end up winning, but Naomi will stand tall by the time that both of them have to walk up the ramp.
Yeah.
That's
I like that.
I see where you're coming from. I see where
I think there'll be a post-match attack or something like that.
Yeah. I can agree with that. I think Jade gets I actually think Jade gets a dominant win, because Naomi just turned heel and you need her to spiral low.
Yeah.
And Jade needs that one-on-one, matter-of-fact impact win that she hasn't had yet.
I also think that this match is the first of a series. Yes. I fully expect them to culminate in a last woman standing match. And we'll see if that ever happens, but that's where my mind is at. I don't think it'll happen at Backlash, but I think it'll probably happen.
That might be a Money in the Bank type situation.
Yeah,
Money in
yeah.
the Bank, SummerSlam.
Yeah. But that's why
Yeah.
SummerSlam, I think from what he's saying, I like what he's saying. I think that happens at Money in the Bank, and then SummerSlam takes it to the next chapter where there may be an addition of a tag team situation. Jade and Bianca get back together, whoop de whoop, whatever. But I like what he's saying. But to further what he's saying is why I think Jay needs to win at Mania to kick that kind of catalyst off.
Yeah.
I am very emotionally invested in this match. So I'm gonna say Jade is gonna win, but however it ends, I just want it to be amazing, and I want them to have the time of their lives and have that WrestleMania moment they both deserve.
Before Travis, if Jade wins, Naomi interferes and costs Bianca. They both can't leave happy.
If Jade loses, you think Jade is gonna interfere with Bianca?
Nah.
Or is that too much heel activity?
Yeah, that's too much heel activity.
Yeah.
She can't. She could try to help Bianca and cost her inadvertently.
We'll see. Trap. OG.
Jade, for the reasons that you laid out, she needs a solid one-on-one victory, and I do agree that Naomi will be the one to, stand tall by the time they have to walk up the ramp, and for the sole reason, that's where I feel like
it's not Nia.
Nia could make her presence kind of known a little bit, but like I said, that's either happening at Mania or it's happening at Raw. I'm calling for Mania, but either way, I agree with both of y'all. Yeah.
My last point for this, I want them to steal the night on Saturday. I want this to be the match that nobody expects to be amazing, and they just surprise everybody.
Crazy enough, that might be the Ray and Chad Gable match.
It might be.
It could
crazy
be.
enough,
Ray
that could be it. Because Ray can still go, and Chad puts on a show.
Yes. Shout out to them, but I hope it's Naomi and Jade. Love that. All right, we're going on to Sunday night. We can't start with that one. Okay, the Women's World Championship triple threat match. Io Sky, Bianca Belair, Rhea Ripley.
I think we all picked Io.
Yeah, we all got Io.
Yeah, we all got Io. Okay.
You picked Bianca, but I think
no. Yeah. Don't get me to line. Bianca Belair. Tay is picking Bianca Belair. I keep my word. I am never betting against her again. Okay, you can't spell WrestleMania without EST. I love you, Bianca. You are a friend of the pod.
Stop chasing the hug, bro.
I'm not chasing the hug. I'm being so real right now. This is how I truly feel.
Here's an additional reason why I feel like Bianca definitely won't win, because Tez is a champion, and they have not had them both champions at the same time.
That could be a reason
why they do win.
Could be.
Because they now I do say now, husband and wives have been champions multiple times at the same time.
They have, but they haven't. It's always a trade-off.
I mean, it could be a part of Bianca's heel turn, It could be. We'll see. All right, moving on. The Intercontinental Championship Fatal 4-Way. It's Braun Breaker, Finn Balor, Dominic Mysterio. I'm missing somebody.
Penta.
And Penta.
Dom.
Dirty Dom.
Yep.
Dirty Dom all the way.
Dirty Dominic Mysterio, man. Real talk.
But I hope that is a really great match. I'm excited to see Penta do what he could do.
Eduardo Guerrero Jr.
All right.
Gory. Don't forget the gory.
Then we have the Sin City Street fight with Damian Priest and Drew McIntyre.
Yeah, I'm gonna say Drew.
Damian, because I don't like Drew.
I'm gonna say Damian because
I need another Drew crash out.
Yes, I just live for Drew crashing out. I love
Drew crash out at Mania. That was beautiful last year, and at the hands of Damian again. Oh man,
I want him to crash out, go back to the Scottish psychopath.
Yeah.
Jey Uso.
Let it go.
So let's go, Priest. Pull it out for us, for the team.
Yeah, I'm going just for that. Just for the potential crash out. I need Damian to win. Like, it has to happen.
Yeah.
I need that to happen just in case something that I do pick doesn't go my way, and I can feel better about it.
Drew crashes out the best. One day I'm gonna crash out like that, probably. I love that. Okay, anyway, the women's tag team championship match. Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez, shout out to Texas, versus Lyra Valkyria and Bailey.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Liv and Raquel. I think the story is going to end up being Bailey turning heel on Lyra, and you get an IC program out of that.
Yeah,
I like that.
Yeah. I think it'll be a rerun of Bailey and Sasha. I think it'll be a rerun of that.
Yeah,
they missed the opportunity and Bailey turns.
I love that. I love that. I'm going to go with Liv and Raquel. I think they have the momentum going for them. And my prediction always is when a tag team is kind of thrown together, I never think they're going to win.
That's valid.
Yeah.
So I think it's going to be Liv and Raquel.
Yeah, I think so as well. To really just to keep the women's tag team championship on like a solid tag team. And Lyra, with her being Intercontinental Champion, I mean, she's having great matches, but I don't see them trying to push her as double champion right now.
No, this is building up to a program for the IC title.
Yeah, this is all this is. You know what I mean? So that's why. That's my reason.
I love that. Okay, we talked about this a little bit, but the undisputed WWE Championship.
Wait. Before we get there, isn't there another one? Don't AJ and Logan have a match?
Oh, why is that not on my list? Okay, AJ Styles and Logan Paul. Yes. Go ahead.
Yeah, got to be AJ Styles, right?
Yeah,
I think so. I think the last AJ Styles win at WrestleMania was 35.
Yeah.
My man's overdue. And Logan Paul can take a loss and it's not going to hurt him.
Yeah.
I want to see a counter of the pulverizer somehow into the Styles Clash.
I think I was gonna say a counter of the pulverizer, but I like it to be into a phenomenal forearm. I think that's more like I like the pop up and then just popping with the forearm. That'd be smooth. But I like AJ Styles because I think this might be his last Mania.
Yeah, if not this one, then next year's for sure.
Yeah. Shout out to AJ Styles. I'm gonna go with AJ. I like him to win this, and shout out to you too, Logan. I guess I'm gonna just leave it there.
I think I would like it to be AJ. I think that would be like the original plan, kind of going in.
Mm-hmm.
But I think whoever wins will probably be predicated on how AJ's feeling. I think because Logan gets a bad rap of like, well, he's not taking, he didn't come through like us or whatever. So I think Logan is still fighting for respect.
Yeah.
And I think that if somehow, some way within the match, it goes I feel like this match actually might steal the show.
Yeah, it's gonna be a great match.
Yeah.
And I don't see AJ caring or minding giving Logan that rub. So I'm gonna go Logan.
Yeah, I mean AJ. I don't think if AJ cared, AJ wouldn't have did the match.
Right.
Yeah.
He's not that type of person. I don't feel like.
No.
If AJ had a problem with Logan potentially going over, especially because of how big Logan is in social media and with sponsorships and stuff, I don't think AJ would agree to the program.
So I'm going Logan. I'm going Logan. I think they'll take care of AJ on the back end, but I do feel like it's gonna be Logan.
That's fair. That's fair. Last but not least, Cody versus Cena.
I don't know.
We have to pick. You have to pick.
I can't.
You have to pick.
Do we have to?
You have to
I
pick.
can't call it, bro.
You have to. We have to pick. You have to pick a side. If I can't pick Paul Heyman to win out of the Roman, out of that triple threat,
that's not fair because
you
Paul
gotta pick.
isn't in the match.
No, I
That's
don't
not
care.
the same.
You gotta pick. Everybody has to pick.
I picked Travis Scott.
Because he's the fan out of all of it.
Yeah.
This is crazy. Well, Chris got to go first. So.
Yeah, Chris.
Yeah. Oh man.
Oh man.
If I had to choose, it's a 51-49 split. I have John Cena. It could go either way, but by 1%, I think John Cena is going to take it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know how we're getting there, but I think we're getting there.
If I'm going off of just a regular book match, Cody's not beating Big Match John. But if Dwayne decides to show that cranium, I don't know, man. I'm going with John just because that record needs to be broken.
Yeah.
The record needs to be broken, and Randy is too far away at this current time. So I'm going with John. And because I want to see John versus Randy for the title at some point. That's my thing. So I'm going with John.
I think John and Randy also main event Backlash this month, later this month, or next month, whenever
next month.
Next month.
Makes
Yes.
sense.
Yes. My childhood, I want to see John and Randy again before it's all said and done.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I want John to win.
I'm going with John Cena. Reason being, I love Chaos, Chris. I forgot to say that. Chaos is the best thing ever for me to watch. I love just
Unless
everything follow unless it involves Bianca. I need it very structured and her winning for my stress levels and blood pressure. But anyway, I think the most chaotic ending to this amazing weekend is John Cena, heel John Cena specifically, winning his first title as heel John Cena, and also breaking the record.
Crazy. Okay, I'm not gonna come back because I don't want it to be. You got a rebuttal.
Yeah. Trap. OG.
Seeing as that I can't call it, I'm just gonna throw something out there.
Go ahead. Maybe it'll stick.
It's not.
Stone Cold.
I think we still.
Say it.
I would love a Cody Hill time and Rock's involved, just so Rock can continue to screw John Cena.
I was thinking it, but I couldn't put the words together. That's why I said
like a double turn.
Yes,
like a double turn. Yeah,
yes.
that's why I said. That's why I said if Rock shows up. That's why I started that thought, but I couldn't put the words together. But
I really think
like
Cody
a Mania
still,
17 double flip.
Yeah, like just y'all thought
This was gonna
happen. Y'all thought it was. Nah, this has been the plan. This has been the plan all along.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get my champion in the champion that I wanted, not the consolation prize, which that's who Cena is in this situation.
Whatever happens, my mind is gonna be blown, and I already know it.
I cannot wait.
I trust Triple H that much.
I can't. Oh, before I know this is not part of the game, but before we go, I want to get Chris's and also Travis' opinion.
Yeah, the game's over.
Okay, cool. Because by the time this comes out, the Hall of Fame would have already happened. Are there any moments that y'all are looking forward to for the Hall of Fame later tonight?
Chris, you go first.
Yeah, for me, I think it's really cool that they're inducting matches. The Stone Cold Bret Hart match is one of my favorite matches ever. So I think it's really neat that they're doing that. I don't know if it's only going to be WrestleMania matches that are going to go into that wing, because there is a lot of phenomenal matches that have happened.
I think it might
WrestleMania.
Is the category like iconic WrestleMania moments or something like that?
I think so. I think it is.
Immortal moments.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So,
I'm sorry.
But yeah, no, that's all good. But yeah, I'm very curious to see that, and I'm excited for that. And then of course, I'm excited to see Triple H's speech. I think there's a lot to be deserved for the kind of work that he's done, just not only recently, but just throughout his entire career. So yeah, I think that'll be good. It's on a little late here, so I don't know if I'll be watching it entirely live. But I'm definitely going to catch up on it, and probably will watch it by the time I go into Mania tomorrow.
What about you?
Oh, for me. I don't. It's not gonna happen during the Hall of Fame, but on the Mania, you know how they give the Hall of Fame inductees their spotlight.
Mm-hmm.
I just want to see Triple H walking out to Motorhead one last time. I know it's not gonna be the full entrance, but because now he comes out to the Bow Down to the King. I know that's still Motorhead, but that's not the song.
Oh yeah, I know what you're talking about.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I want to hear the guitar riff, Lenny laughing. Like, that's what I want to hear.
Yeah.
And see him walk out to the crowd and have everybody give him his acknowledgement, because out of a lot of people, Triple H for some reason still gets so much slack, but the man's career was top tier. It's crazy. So it'd be cool as a fan to see him go in and get his acknowledgement, because I know Travis always talk about guys from the 80s and the early 90s and stuff. Triple H is like my generation. Grew up. Triple H was my champion for 90% of my childhood.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So like that'd be a cool moment to see. And like I said, to hear the game song, I hope he come out with a water bottle, spit it one last time for all of us.
In a suit.
Yeah.
Oh, I feel like
in the suit, because we're not gonna see it again.
I think Trips will get that last ring walk. I think.
You think he'll go all the way down?
Oh, absolutely.
He has to.
He has to. I think he gets that ring walk.
He has to. I would love for him to do that, and I know they're gonna be full character, but I would really love for him to go just to see that one last time.
Yeah,
that'll be my highlight for Hall of Fame.
Yeah, that's definitely the highlight for me. Going back to when he was terrorizing, and
02 to 05.
So when he was watching him from WCW all the way up to now, like, yeah, I would love to see that, for him being the historian that he is, the student of the game that he's always been, really listening to the fans and like booking from the fans' perspective. I'm very excited about his, and I'm also happy to see Lex get his just due.
Yeah.
Yes, that's valid. Long time coming.
Yeah, he was the first holder of that version of the U.S. belt that's sitting on the table. Lex has brought so many. If we're thinking of moments, right? Lex, the night he showed up on Nitro and nobody knew, everybody thought he was still WWE. When he beat Hogan on Nitro, on a Nitro where Hogan seemed unstoppable, everybody went crazy. But even before that, we're talking about slams.
Yoko.
You know what I'm saying? Like, Luger has brought a lot of memorable moments to professional wrestling. And I know people have given him a hard time about the whole situation with Elizabeth, and this is probably why he wasn't inducted a while ago, because of how the old leadership felt about Elizabeth, and his personal relationship with Vince, and how Vince probably felt slighted on. He thought he had somebody on a handshake agreement, and then the inaugural Nitro, he shows back up. Yeah, I get it, I understand, but we know Vince can be a very vindictive person. I'm actually surprised Warrior got inducted before he passed. You know what I'm saying? So, but we know Vince is the type of guy. you'll get a post homicide induction. Certain people will, and I'm glad that Luger's not one of those people.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Going to Triple H, it'd be cool to see when I first started watching, Triple H was a dweeb. When I first started watching Raw, he was a dweeb. But to go from the dweeb to being the guy, in my personal opinion, who saved WWE these last couple years, that and going to the point with Luger going in, like all that stuff, like he's
righting wrongs,
righting so many wrongs, and he's saving.
Perfect way to put that.
Yes, like he's the guy who's doing that, and I think he saved the company for real. Because with the Vince stuff, even before the Vince stuff, it was starting to tank, bro. Like WWE was tanking for a while. Yeah. So he brought back that, like we talked about, Trav. He brought back that feeling I had when I was 8 years old. Yeah. Well, I don't know what's going to happen. It's chaos, and it makes it fun. Like I haven't been this excited for a Mania in a very long time. These last 3 Manias, I haven't been that excited for a Mania in a long time.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
yeah. I'm so ready for this. I'm ready for tonight. I'm ready for tomorrow. I'm ready for Sunday. Like, I'm ready for Monday. I'm just man, the aftermath of it all, like, it's
gonna be wild.
Gosh, man, it's gonna be wild.
It's gonna be wild.
There is a match that we did not talk about, and we could do a quick rapid fire vote. Yeah. What's happening with Randy Orton?
Oh, we talked.
Yeah.
No. Okay. Scratch. I had a bold prediction earlier. We talked about this on the card on the way here. My bold prediction is going to be an open challenge, and Rusev is going to answer it.
Think Rusev? Okay.
Yeah. That's my bold prediction. I think it's going to be an open challenge, and Rusev is going to answer that challenge. That we said that literally on the way to the studio today. I
totally forgot Rusev got signed back until you said that, because my prediction was Nick.
Nick Aldis because of the RKO's and stuff.
Yes, and the RKO's, I feel like Nick's European. Nick is a very prideful Englishman, right? He can get past RKO's. Once you mention a man's wife, and nah, man, Nick not letting that go. 10 pounds of gold, Nick is showing up. That's just my prediction.
Okay. All right.
I don't have a bold prediction per se. I don't know. I don't know.
Not you're stumped.
I'm stumped. I don't know. Anything is possible.
So put it like this: if you had the pen and you're writing Randy Orton's segment, what would you do?
I mean, I think it would be very impossible to do, but like KO really didn't get surgery. It really isn't hurt, and he comes back. That's what.
But you know what's crazy enough though? But you know what's crazy though? That's crazy. But with KO, it could be a thing. I know he really had surgery. It could have been a thing to where he plays like he had this surgery. Nobody knows, and he attacks Randy.
Yeah,
that could have been a thing.
I don't know. That would be, if it was up to me. That's how all of this would play.
What if Austin?
Austin?
Nah.
You don't think Austin would answer a challenge with Randy?
Nah. McAfee.
What do you think, Chris?
Yeah, I mean, look, my prediction for tonight is just, or not tonight, but for Randy at least, is mine seems a little convoluted, but they teased the Solo Sikoa thing last week, and while I'm not a fan of it, while I'm not a fan of this option, it's nothing against Solo, and it's honestly, obviously nothing against Randy, but they built up this Randy punt happening, and who can take this without having a blow done to their character? And I feel like that's Solo, and people would want to see that punt happen to Solo. So I think we can get to Randy versus Solo in a one-on-one, but what I would actually want to happen is I would want Randy to get ambushed by Solo and Tama, and Nick Aldis kind of begrudgingly being like, okay, you know what, Randy, like, you think you're a hot shot, you're going to face Solo and Tama Tonga at WrestleMania. You have to find your own partner, and I think you get either the debut of Rusev, or, in my opinion, I think it should be Malachi Black, because
they have been hinting for him.
Yeah, they've been hinting at it, but also this gives Malachi Black a WrestleMania win straight out the gate. It gives Randy Orton a WrestleMania win. Solo still, can take that loss and is not damaged. Tama's not damaged by a loss either, and it gets 4 people on the show. And I know this Mania has been built around multi-man matches, but I just think
you can still get the punt kick off on, like, say, a Tama or somebody like that.
Exactly, like Tama. Well, Solo can still take the punt, and Tama can take the Black Mass, and that's it.
You're gonna have that moment,
yeah. So, I think we can get there. I don't know if that's going to happen for sure, but that's something that I would want to happen, or that I think would be fun.
In Vegas, because of how his character was when he left, I don't know about when he comes back, the Malachi's Black character works for Vegas perfectly. Like, I don't know if you remember his entrance and all that stuff, but it all works with the whole Chris Angel vibe and all this other stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Like, it works. So, Malachi Black, he came in, like, it's like fade in shot of candles, and then he comes up like a vampire type thingy.
Oh, kind of like the Brood.
Yeah, but it's like it's like that gothic kind of punk rock gothic vibe. That might work for Vegas. As a surprise type situation in Allegiant Stadium and everything, like the production of his entrance as it would work perfectly.
And it gives him that massive star spotlight, which I think
exactly
he's capable of. Yeah.
And it's a slow build to the pop with the mystery character. Everything goes black. That's how his entrance starts anyway. It works with the build up of the mystery character and stuff like that. It works.
I love that.
I agree.
All right, y'all. Last thing.
I thought you finished.
Last thing. All right. Before we end, you can only say one word that is going to encompass the weekend.
I know my word.
Can I say a hyphenated word?
Sure. Why not?
Okay. All right.
You go ahead. No, you go first.
Okay. Am I going first?
Yeah,
No,
you go first.
This is a personal reason for me, so I'll give a personal one and then an all-encompassing. But I think personally, a life-changing weekend for myself. I think all around as a show, man, I don't want to just say amazing. That feels like an understatement. But like maybe I don't know. I feel wrong saying that with WrestleMania falling on Easter. I was about to say everlasting, but
shout out to you.
I'll hold back there. Yeah. Man, I guess phenomenal. I mean, not to go with AJ Styles, but like, I think we'll look back on this WrestleMania and just be like,
it's going to be one.
Insane. Yeah.
I think this Mania is going to be talked about with 17.
I agree.
Yeah,
I agree.
Absolutely.
And I hope that that's the case, you know.
Yeah. First, about to be on Easter sucks because I'm not going to be focused in church.
At all.
Dude, same. My wife is going to at 10 a.m.
I'm not going to be focused at all.
And I feel like, one, I'm going to be tired from editing the night before.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to go to sleep probably pretty late, wake up for Easter, and then once Easter's done, I'm going to be like, okay, well, now I have to get all my stuff ready for the stadium again. So,
I'm be at church waiting for church to run through.
I'm going to be tired at church because from tomorrow night, I know my mind is going to be blown with the triple threat with Roman and all of them alone.
We got a whole nother night to get through.
Oh.
So, yeah. That's one thing. My word is the word I've been using recently, but it's gonna be cinema. That's my word. That's been my running word. It's gonna be cinema.
My word would be unforgettable. I'm gonna probably be telling my grandkids how good this WrestleMania was and how
I was there.
How it doesn't compare to whatever it is that they're wrestling. They're gonna be watching then.
Mm-hmm.
Special.
I love that.
I'm going to bring up one more thing, and then
Of course.
probably close out. But Travis, you and I obviously have a mutual friend in George.
Yes.
And I know when you had him on as a guest, he talked about his interaction with me. I kind of want to give my side of my interaction with George.
He'll love that.
Yes.
Because George is probably one of the most special people I've met one time. Like it, and probably someone I'll remember forever.
Yes.
Just because of that meeting that I had with him was so warm when we met at SummerSlam.
Mm-hmm.
And I know he didn't mention it. I told him he could if he wanted to, but by the time the pod was done, he was like, "Hey, I didn't know if you wanted to tell that story for yourself, so I will." When we were at SummerSlam 2022, and I met George, I was with a group of people, and I believe it was myself. I think my wife was there, but at the time she was just my girlfriend.
Mm-hmm.
And there was George, and there was a fourth person, and I feel bad for not remembering off the top of my head who the fourth person was. But when I went to shake George's hand, we kind of got like crossed up because George was across from me, and then there was the two people here. So everyone was shaking hands, and I crossed George's hand, and afterwards he kind of pulls me aside, and he was like, "Young man, are you is that your wife over there?" And I said, "No, it's my girlfriend." And he had mentioned that, like, in Greek tradition, when you cross handshakes like that, he goes, usually the person that you're with will be the one that you end up marrying. And so he was like, are you thinking about marrying this woman or like engagement? And I was like, well, yeah, I mean, that's the plan. Things have been going great so far, and yeah, lo and behold, I mean, today she's my wife, and she's amazing. But I always go back to that little moment that George and I shared, and it was very special. It wasn't even wrestling related, but it was something that on our wedding day, I told Brooke that story, and I was like, you know what, George called this a long time ago, and out in the Nashville sun, and I've always had very warm conversations with not Brooke, with George. Anytime that I have been able to speak to him, he actually sent Brooke and I a wedding gift, which was very, very sweet of him. So I have nothing but good things to say about that guy, and it was amazing that you had him on your pod. So, George, if you're watching this, we love you.
Yeah, he'll definitely see it.
Yeah, he'll see it for sure.
Yeah.
Shout out to Mr. P, man.
Yes.
Number one, Mr. P. He's great, and he still
contacts me.
Keeps in contact all the time. He's just a great guy. Yeah. Shout out to you, Mr. P.
Love that guy, man.
He's amazing. He's amazing, and I feel like I owe him dinner at some point in time.
We all do.
I feel like I owe him dinner, and I haven't met him yet
in person. No,
that guy.
That's what it is.
He's a gem.
I just want to sit down and talk to him around steak. I feel like that'd be fire.
Good steak.
Yeah. I want George to take me to the best Greek restaurant he knows.
Yes.
Really want.
Yes.
I've learned so much about Greek tradition and history in the past month.
Yeah.
From him.
Yeah.
Oh,
cool.
But, all right.
Yeah. No, I really wanted to mention that.
Yes.
That ain't no problem.
No problem.
Yeah, that was a special interaction. And obviously, Travis and I, we both have a mutual affiliation with George. So,
Yeah. Shout out to Mr. P.
Absolutely.
Have a great WrestleMania weekend, Mr.
Yes.
P. Have a great WrestleMania. All right, y'all. I guess we wrap it up here.
Yes. It's been a pleasure, bro. Like,
Yes.
you know, from our first encounter to us, you know, once we found each other again, you know, being more regularly, you know, keeping in contact, you know, and I want to thank you for, you know, just always keeping me in mind of, you know, what you got going on, you know what I'm saying, and not being a stranger, and, you know, wanting to share things that you're working on and got coming up and everything like that. And it's amazing, and it was definitely meant for us to cross paths on that, you know, on that flight, you know. And the world is so big, but the world is so small at the same time. And
ain't that true?
Yeah. For me to mention Mr. Pontus like that, and you're like, oh yeah, I know Joe. I'm like, man, like, how? So like then we just happen to have that conversation, and then like fast forward to being able to have both of you on the show. You know, from it's really been an honor, and have somebody on location to speak on, you know what their day would look like, you know, leading up, you know, in preparation for the show, man. It's been really an honor for us to have you on, man.
Yeah.
For real.
Yeah.
Hopefully next year we'll be there with you.
Oh, we're gonna be in New Orleans next year.
For sure.
There's no way around that. We will be in New Orleans.
We could do a live sit down.
Yes, sir.
For sure.
Absolutely.
We gotta do that.
Yes, sir.
We booking that right now.
Yeah, we're gonna start planning now.
Right
we
now.
will be in New Orleans.
Yes.
And you know, it's crazy. You said George and Chris were on a podcast. From the original podcast to now, it's been well over the year. We've only had 2 guests on, and it was Chris and George.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of dope. That's really
thank y'all so much.
It's good company, so I appreciate you guys.
Yeah, that's dope. Yeah, that's dope.
I love it.
Yeah.
All right. Well, y'all, this has been another episode of the Living the Gimmick podcast. I think my phone died, so I don't have my outro ready, but this has been a great episode. WrestleMania is here, y'all. Enjoy WrestleMania weekend, and we will be back next week with our reactions. All right. Till next time. Bye.
Peace.